The following podcast is provided by Athira Pharma and Answers for Elders Radio.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio Network, sponsored by this show, Athira Pharma. And we are speaking with Dr. Bernardo Ng, and he is the Chief Medical Officer of Sun Valley Research Center. And it is very, very great to have you on the show as we're talking about specifically the Latino community, communities of color, those that are marginalized, and finding ways to get them the care that they need. And I am so honored to have you, and I'm honored to learn about your mission, Dr. Ng, because it's needed. There's a lot of people out there that are not getting the care that they need. And certainly for you to do what you do, we're very grateful.
Well, thanks a lot. It's an honor to be here.
Yes. So I want to talk a little bit about the Latino community specifically. We talked a lot about engaging them in there, but I don't think that the world knows enough about this marginalized community and what the statistics are. If you've got any information of, who's like you just said, 1% are on clinical research trials. Do you think that the information is reaching them? What do you think the hesitation is?
Well, of course, that's one of those questions that don't have a single answer, right? But I think, we were talking about access earlier on, and that's one of the things that we're trying to overcome by settling in an area which is a desert with little services,
right?
And we just began that. We're very lucky. We really like it here. But with that said, that's one of the things in other highly populated Hispanic areas may not have clinical sites like ours. That's one. The other one is certainly the stigma that we had talked about, the fear of, or just the thought of being subject in a research trial, because that sounds wrong or sounds fishy. And the other one is the denial or fear of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's, right? It carries weight.
It does.
Yeah, when for many people, they prefer to say that is normal aging, right? A normal dementia for older people, which for years now we know that term does not exist anymore.
No.
And I try to compare it with conditions like osteoporosis, right? The bones become thin. It's normal that they become thin, both men and women, maybe more in women because of hormonal differences.
Right.
But no, there is a point when the bones are just too thin. That's not normal and requires treatment because it carries health risks. So the same thing, being forgetful, not able to memorize things or to speak well, are manifestations that of a deterioration of the brain, and that's illness, and we call it Alzheimer's, and you better get it treated because I do see, and I hope life gives me that opportunity, the day when a scenario, like I was saying, I'm 65, and I got a blood test. The doctor told me that I have Alzheimer's disease. I don't have any symptoms, but I'm getting this treatment, whatever it is, injected, oral, whatever, for a couple of weeks or months. And then I'm not going to develop all the symptoms.
Yeah, all the amyloids. Yeah. And the thing that I think is so critical about all this is the fact that, we are seeing success in catching it early. And we're seeing the things that are happening. And the more and more we can communicate that, I think is the key. I think a lot of people, they delay even going to the doctor because even though they might know that there's something not right, I mean, how would it affect their job if they're still working? How would it affect, they just want to stay in denial for as long as possible till they can't do it anymore. I think that's a lot of the things that happen. And I think the other thing that we do is we find that there's, like you just said, it's not just typical dementia anymore. They're able to pinpoint different types and how it affects the brain. And I think more and more that we learn about the disease, that's the positive part of getting early treatment. And I think a lot of people tend to not want to go there. Wouldn't you say that's true?
Yes. Nobody wants to have Alzheimer's. I mean, that's one of the worst diseases to have, right? What we probably have failed to communicate is that there are different levels of the disease, right?
Yeah.
And that the early stages. So this is a frequent question I get. So is dementia the same as Alzheimer's? And the answer is no. Dementia is a late stage of Alzheimer's disease. Like it is also a late stage of someone with a lot of brain strokes, right? Eventually, with dementia, or someone who drank alcohol a lot for decades and decades will harm their brain so much that will develop dementia. Well, that's the late stages, and there's hardly any treatment about it. But early on, you know, we have diagnostic criteria now for decades about how to identify Alzheimer's early on. And especially now, which is also very exciting to me, that we're starting to zero into biomarkers. You know, at first, they had to be obtained only with lumbar puncture. Now, we're getting to the stage where maybe some blood markers will help us confirm or not.
That's so cool.
PET scans, which unfortunately are very expensive. But so I think we're getting there to, on the one hand, have a way to confirm early on, to treat it. And then when that happens, I think society is going to look at this a different way. But
I agree.
It's not such a sentence now for, you know, it's like, you know, decades ago, people with cancer, right? I got cancer. It didn't matter what it was. Oh my God. So you're going to die.
It was a death sentence. Yeah.
Once? No, now we have, especially, for example, with breast cancer. I mean, the progress has been humongous with, you know, with the markers, biological markers, hormonal antibodies now. I mean, they get screened, detected, operated on, and boom, right. So I look forward to the day we're going to get there with Alzheimer's.
Yes, I do too. And certainly looking at the different ways, how do you think, what do you believe, if you had a wish list, how do you believe that we as an industry could do better in getting the word out to those that are in marginalized communities?
Well, I think first thing that comes to mind are strategies like this one, right? Where you get people who are very good at communicating, like you, who have a podcast or a communication product that is heard or seen in a lot of places. Of course, with the Latino population, which you consider doing it in Spanish as well.
Yeah, right? Well, we could certainly find someone.
And then, do, I don't know, I'm not a communications person, but I know from talking to my patients who listen to the radio, like small capsules and stuff, or small messages, simple and to the point. And of course, we always think back at the doctor's office, right? But I have to say, in the community I'm at, my colleagues are so overwhelmed with so much work that sitting down and, you know, going over, hey, by the way, you know, there's this disease. And so that means probably taking the time of another 3 or 4 patients that they will see that day.
Well, and I think you're right in the fact that, you know, I think we as an industry need to do a better job. And when I say industry, as far as those that are in the later life world, I think a lot of us, we talk about what's wrong with the disease, or we talk about that, but we don't necessarily talk about the positive stuff. And you know, with us, we try to bring that piece out, because I think it's important that people know that there is hope out there, that there are breakthroughs happening. And then people will say, well, someday there's going to be a cure, but they don't know where we are on the process, of how far we've come to getting there. And that's the thing, how many times have I sat around a table with people in my industry? And it's crazy. Matter of fact, one of the staff of Athira was there, and somebody just asked him across the table, come on, do you really think there's going to be a cure for Alzheimer's someday? And he looked right back at him and he said, yes, I do. And that's the thing that we, coming from your perspective and you're sharing that with us, that is huge. And certainly for us to talk about how we can reach those marginalized communities, people of color, people that are, maybe older, they have mobility challenges, different things like that. All of those things are, opportunities for us, right, to get out there and get the message. And I think that's what's so important that you've done. Do you find that there's, how prevalent is the gap that you see in healthcare access for those communities?
Well, the community I'm at is very peculiar because it is 80% Latino. So Amazing. It's very hard to compare,
True.
How faster are the other 20% services. But I can tell you that, there's a lot of these people that we're talking about don't have private insurance. They're
right.
Medicare, right? And some of them are Medicare and Medicaid.
Sure.
Things like getting approved for surgery, for like a knee replacement, they have to 3, 4, 6 months to get approved.
Yeah.
I can't imagine now with these antibody treatments that we have, how long it's going to be to even, get them, right?
Yeah.
Which is underscores the greater opportunity that it is to participate in a clinical trial.
Absolutely.
That will be sooner and faster than getting one of the approved treatments.
Yeah. Well, we're so thrilled to have you. And Dr. Ng, in the meantime, how do people reach you if they want to reach out to you?
Oh, yes, please look us up on our website, www.sunvalleyr.com, or the phone number is 760-545-0123.
Fabulous. And Dr. Ng and I are going to be right back, and we're going to talk about how he engages in the community and to get the word out and to engage people into Alzheimer's trials, coming up next, right after this.
The preceding podcast was provided by Athira Pharma and Answers for Elders Radio. For more information about the Alzheimer's clinical trial, go to athiraclinicaltrials.com.